Pokémon Sword and Shield are arguably the most controversial games in the Pokémon franchise. From the Dex Cut to the DLC, I've seen almost every single part of this game thoroughly debated over, except two specific parts: the beginning of the game and the end of the game. Now, while there may certainly be debate about these two, there's definitely less than pretty much any part of the game from what I've seen. So today I'm going to start a conversation about the beginning of the game, from the end of the first cutscene all the way to when you have the ability to fly. How well was it executed? If it was executed poorly, how can we fix it? So first, a rundown of what happens within this segment. Here's a timestamp for you to skip to how well it was executed. Hop, your main rival for this game, invites you over to his house to meet his brother and champion of the region, Leon, so that he can give you guys what is vaguely described as a present. You pass by a Wooloo rolling into the fence gate, so Hop does a lackluster job of convincing it to just not. Once you get to Hop's house, his mom says that Leon isn't there yet, and is probably just getting to the train station in the town ahead. So after you and Hop run across the very short Route 1, you see Leon being swarmed by a crowd right in front of the train station. After hearing, I'm going to be honest, his subpar motivational speech, you confront Leon directly. Once you introduce yourselves, all of you go right back to Hop's house so that Leon can give you the present that turned out to be, surprise, your starter Pokemon. As it's getting later in the day, both you and Hop's mom, who I wish actually had names, cook up what I can only assume to be kebabs for everyone to eat. The next morning, you're forced to have a battle with Hop that's so easy it's debatable whether or not it's actually a battle. After you win, Hop has the nerve to say that his performance was good enough for Leon to let him challenge the Pokemon gyms, which apparently not everyone is allowed to do in this region. Leon promptly denies him and then suggests that we both learn more about Pokemon before taking on the gyms, and that we should stop by Professor Magnolia's Pokemon lab in Wedgehurst to pick up some Pokédexes to assist us in doing just that. Once Leon leaves to go to the lab, Hop hears some commotion coming from the gate you passed by earlier. You two run over there and then notice that the gate is open, and that the Wooloo must have broke it down and ran off into the Slumbering Weald, a place that is supposedly quite dangerous to people due to the fog and strong Pokemon. So, like any stupid kid would do, both of you run in to go fetch the Wooloo. After a few clearly forced wild Pokemon encounters in the tall grass, you end up confronting the Boxart legendary. Kind of. You try attacking it to fend it off, but all of your attacks do nothing. Eventually, you faint due to the fog. Wait, what? After what seems to be a few minutes later, you eventually come to unharmed, with Leon finally finding both you and the Wooloo. He escorts you back to your house, and Hop tells you to come to Wedgehurst to pick up the Pokédexes once you are ready. You let your mom know that you're off to Wedgehurst, and she gives you some money so that you can buy potions to heal up your Pokemon on the go. You head off to Route 1, where you get around a roadblock, and you make your way to meet Leon in front of the professor's Pokemon lab. Once you make your way into the lab, Leon introduces you to Professor Magnolia's granddaughter, Sonia. After gifting you the Pokédex app on your in-game phone, Sonia asks you to go to Magnolia's house down on Route 2 to let her know you got it. As soon as you leave the lab, this random guy pops out of nowhere and gives you a potion, advising that you use it, which is kind of redundant considering that our mother already did just that. So once you go up to Route 2, oh, never mind, Hop's gotta tell us about Pokemon Centers. After Hop invites you inside one, he asks if he needs to explain to you what a Pokemon Center is, which he probably should have done before we came in. After once again being told by a random guy that buying potions is a good idea, you head out on your way to Route 2 before being interrupted by Hop for pretty much no reason. Then, after taking 7 steps into Route 2, you're interrupted again by Hop and Leon so that they can give you an unskippable tutorial on how to catch a Pokemon. I am starting to sense a pattern here. After that, you are interrupted for the final time by the game putting an unreasonable amount of emphasis on this first trainer that you're able to beat quite easily. Going down the route, you beat 2 more trainers, and then finally you get to Professor Magnolia's house. Magnolia invites you inside, and after some talk about Dynamaxing, Hop asks the professor if she could help convince Leon to let you participate in the gym challenge. Right in front of Leon, might I add. After Magnolia does some of her old woman wisdom magic, Leon gives in and says that if you two impress him by battling each other again, he'll give both of you endorsements to enter the gym challenge. So you go outside and easily beat Hop again. After Leon gives both of you endorsements, 2 wishing stars come down from the sky right next to you and Hop that just so happens to have the materials needed to make Dynamax bands. Magnolia offers to make them into Dynamax bands, and by the next morning, they are finished and are given to you. As it turns out, the gym challenge starts in the city of Motostoke, which you need to get to via train. So Hop decides to race you back to the Wedgehurst train station, but not before telling you how the mechanics of overworld Pokemon work. Going back to Wedgehurst, Hop once again holds your hand to tell you where the train station is, as if we didn't pick up Leon at the same place before. Before heading in, Hop gives you the Swift TM and a tutorial on technical machines. You go inside the train station, then both of your nameless mothers follow you in to give you their farewell and some camping gear. On the train, we're shown a small cutscene that explains the wild area. You are then stopped short of Motostoke due to some Wooloo blocking the tracks. In other words, to reach Motostoke, you're gonna have to travel through the wild area. Both you and Hop go out to the wild area where you meet up with Sonia. She presents you with her conflict with her grandmother about her taking up the responsibilities of being the local professor. Then she gives us some information about the wild area and gives us a box link, which is particularly useful. Once you make your way across the wild area and into Motostoke, you meet up with Sonia again. She pulls you into the Pokemon Center to tell you about Pokemon League cards, and that you can create your own using the PCM Pokemon Centers. Going back outside, Sonia goes ahead and points us where we should be going, which is a giant stadium at the end of the city, where the opening ceremony of the gym challenge will be hosted. Now here, the hint is actually semi-warranted, because Motostoke is pretty huge compared to the other places we've seen so far, and we can't see the stadium from this angle, so I'll give a pass on that. What I won't give a pass on is that as we're heading there, Leon interrupts you again to point out where we're supposed to be going, which is now just up the lift. At least he gives you an item that boosts the moves of your starter Pokemon, so it wasn't a complete waste of time. Then Hop stops you again. Please stop. Please. You and Hop go into the stadium's lobby, where we get a quick glimpse of our secondary rivals. You'll find one off to the side, and Bede... well, he's Bede. Both you and Hop get registered, and then it's revealed that Chairman Rose, the guy you see in the first cutscene, booked everyone registered in the gym challenge a room at the Badoo Drop-In. So, naturally, we go outside to check out the hotel. In doing so, we meet an escort that leads us back to the hotel. You know, the building that's right next door. Geez, the hand-holding is more ridiculous than Pokepark on the Wii. You get inside the hotel, where Sonia gives you a text wall about a false tale of the mythology behind the region. It's about as time-wasting as it sounds. Next, we have to confront a group of people named Team Yell, who are keeping people from checking into the hotel. They challenge you to a few cheeky Pokemon fights, you win, and then Marnie, one of our 3 rivals in this game, is properly introduced as the person Team Yell simps over. Nice. The next morning, you deny another escort, and go into the stadium to participate in the Pokemon Challenge's opening ceremony. After watching a strangely cut off cutscene, you are properly introduced to Chairman Rose, albeit very briefly. You then go outside, where one of the Gym Challenge staff gives you the ability to fly on a Corviknight taxi. Wow, that was a surprisingly long rundown. So how well was it executed? Pretty poorly. It was pretty bad. First off, you have the layout of the area you're in before you head to Motostoke. Considering that this section is fairly linear in terms of gameplay, you would expect the layout to be semi-linear as well, much like Unova. But that's not the case. You have a central town area that you don't even start in, and 2 routes that branch off on opposite sides of the town, neither of which are used to exit the area. Instead, you go to the train station in the central area. This is naturally going to lend itself to a lot of back and forth. Secondly, it required a lot of aimless running around and random errands, such as the time we went to Hop's house first before running to the train station to pick up Leon. The layout does not help either. Thirdly, there are a lot of unnecessary interruptions. It's hard to feel like you're playing a game when the game itself stops you every chance it gets. Some of the interruptions are warranted, but when you have them next to the extremely redundant ones, it just becomes the sour icing on top of the overbaked lime cake. The fourth and final thing is that there are some things that straight up don't make sense and really take you out of the experience. such as automatically getting a critical hit on your first hit of the battle, and meteors being the only reason you ever get Dynamax bans. I mean, wouldn't it make a lot more sense if Dynamax bans were automatically given to every gym challenger by Chairman Rose? What if those meteors didn't appear? Would you and Hop have to go through the entire challenge without having the ability to Dynamax? Because that would suck, and is a theoretical situation that should not be able to happen. Plus, the whole meteor thing seems a bit random. Okay, on to fixing this mess. The first thing we need to fix is the layout. You will see why I made most of the changes I did when we get to fixing the story. The first dramatic change I'm going to make is meshing Postwick and Wedgehurst together. This will make it so that the traveling distance for running errands is not as long. I'm thinking of just making Postwick sort of the outskirts of Wedgehurst, but still very much a part of it. In turn, Route 1 will be put in between Wedgehurst and Route 2, and Slumbering Weald will be just southeast of what is known as the outskirts of Wedgehurst. Next up, we'll move Professor Magnolia's house to the end of where Route 1 now is. Finally, we'll make it so Route 2 eventually leads into the Weald area. Now to fix the story. Let's start from the top. When Hop invites you to go see Leon, he is so excited that he doesn't even want to bother waiting at his house. Instead, both of you head straight to the train station, meeting the headstrong Wooloo on the way. I figured that not only would this save time, but this would be more in line with Hop's character. Speaking of which, if we could have Hop follow us like how Barry did in Platinum, that would be great, because it would actually feel like you two are doing this together. You know, like friends. Once you get to the train station, the game runs like normal until you battle Hop, because there it actually feels like a battle. Things are normal again until you head into the Slumbering Weald. There's not much to change here, but I would take the forced encounters out. Having absolutely no Pokemon to run into would not only make the Weald less annoying, but also even more eerie. Things run like normal until we leave the professor's lab to go to Magnolia's house. We're gonna take the random potion guy in front of the lab out. Hop is going to ask us about getting a tour around the Pokemon Center before we go inside. Within the center itself, the random potion guy isn't gonna say anything, and Hop's unnecessary dialogue at the town's exit is going away entirely, because all that crap got really annoying even on my first playthrough. Now here's where it gets really different. You're gonna notice that ever since Leon got off the train at the beginning, the station has been closed due to some Wooloo blocking the road, and it's a really huge herd, so it's going to take a long time. You might know where this is going. Now remember, once we leave Wedgehurst to go out the north exit, you now come out to Route 1. Where the catching tutorial will take place. This time, the tutorial is skippable and the dialogue is a little more snappy, because in terms of dialogue, it felt a bit sluggish. Once you either finish or skip the tutorial, you battle a few trainers and keep heading north to Magnolia's house. And from there, things run normally until after your second battle with Hop, where I will be taking out the whole Dynamax ban sequence. Instead, Leon will just give them to you along with the endorsements. So now that it's official that you and Hop are going to compete in the Pokemon League, both your and Hop's parents, along with Sonia, come by Magnolia's house to have dinner and give their farewells, as well as the camping gear. From this point on, Magnolia's house will act as a healing center, so you don't have to go all the way back to Wedgehurst every single time your party is low on HP. The next day, Leon lets you know that the train station is still out of commission. So to make it to the Gym Challenge opening ceremony on time, you're gonna have to travel through the extended version of Route 2 and the Weald area. This version of Route 2 is not only so that you don't have to keep going back and forth between places, but this also serves as some downtime. Because even though the Weald area is in this segment, I still feel like the player needs more time to wind down. Because after all you went through, you kind of need a break from all the dialogues and tutorials. Not to mention that you can also build up your team a little bit during this time. So once you make it over the stone bridge that now lies over the lake, the trees and the rolling hills, you finally make it to the meeting place of the Weald area, where you can heal up and so forth. Everything runs as normal until you get up to Motostoke. You can now use the train station to go between Motostoke, the Weald area, and Wedgehurst. Leon's and Hop's unnecessary interruptions before you get into the gym stadium are now gone, and you end up meeting Hop inside, pretty much the same as before. Once you're registered and go outside to the hotel, there will be no escort. I hate that guy. Within the hotel, there will be a different artifact that gives an extremely vague, but truthful insight into what actually happened on the darkest day, and Sonia's mythology text wall will be completely optional. Now if I redid all of Sword and Shield myself, Team Yell would either become prevalent way later on in the story or would be completely removed. So in other words, you're able to get into your hotel room just fine. The next day, again, there is no escort, and when we go to participate in the opening ceremony, the cutscene will show a bit more of what happened, such as showing all the contestants in a line, kind of like the gym leaders, Chairman Rose hyping up and explaining what will go down, stuff like that. Oh, and I would include Professor Magnolia in the ceremony too, because she really needs a bit more love in this game, and it would make sense, considering that she is one of the lead researchers of Dynamaxing. When the cutscene ends, and you're properly introduced to Chairman Rose, he will give you the ability to use flying taxis directly. I figured that this would make him a bit more likable, and it would honestly make more sense for him to give it to you than some random staff. Other than that, that's about it. I hope you guys found my criticisms and theoretical alternative story insightful and or entertaining. If you guys have differing opinions or maybe some of your own alternative fixes, put them in the comment section below, I'd love to hear them.